Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 311, Win, Lose, or Drew. The episode begins with May, closely followed by Brock, Max, Ash, and Pikachu, on her way to her first Pokemon contest in Slateport City, running as fast as she could because she was determined to get there on time, even though she was running late. Yeah, that's right. Despite spending all that time preparing with her Beautifly, she had gotten so sidetracked by training that she had forgotten to even sign up and was late for registry. As they ran across Slateport towards the contest hall, Brock, Max, and Ash scolded May for not checking the deadline time properly, but May simply ignored their complaints and continued running, and thankfully, Ash and the gang made it to the contest hall right before the entry cutoff time, allowing May to go up to the receptionist and register, as the receptionist checks her contest pass and officially scans her in, leading May to jump up in excitement, declaring that she was going to do everything in her power to win the contest with her Beautifly's beauty. However, the contest receptionist clarifies that even though registry was now closed, there was still 3 hours until the actual contest began, so Brock wondered what they should do to kill time. Suddenly, Ash's stomach growled, so he claimed that he must have been hungry again from all the running, even though he just ate breakfast. So, upon hearing this, everyone decided to go look for a restaurant to have some lunch before the contest began, as they left the contest hall. Just as Ash and the gang left, Team Rocket had showed up in fancy disguises, and they go up to the contest receptionist and perform their motto for the receptionist to introduce themselves, and Jessie states that she wanted to participate in the contest with her dust dogs, and shows the receptionist her contest pass. However, the receptionist, of course, informs Team Rocket that the registry deadline had already passed, directing their attention to the clock on the wall, which was just a few minutes past the hour, showing that Team Rocket was only a few minutes past the deadline, much to Team Rocket, especially Jessie's, dismay. With Jessie angry that she had spent so long practicing for the contest with her dust dogs, only to not be able to enter. Team Rocket then left the contest hall and dejectedly sat on a bench nearby to plan what they should do next. Just then, a depressed Team Rocket saw a frisbee fly by, and they then saw Poochyena jump up and catch it before returning to its trainer, who congratulated it and gave it a few Pokeblocks as a reward. Also seeing a trainer with a Psyduck, a trainer with a Ponyta, a trainer with a Blossom, a trainer with a Fortress, a trainer with a Wingull, a trainer with a Shroomish, and a trainer with an Azurill. It was then that James came up with what Team Rocket should do next. They should find a way to make Pokeblocks and then sell them so that they could make a whole bunch of money, so that all the coordinators who were entering the contest would be able to use them, and Meowth and Jessie cheered for this idea. Meanwhile, the Slateport contest was about to begin in the contest hall, as 3 hours had passed by this point. So, the announcer, Vivian, walked out onto the field and introduced the 3 judges. The chief of the Pokemon Activities Committee, Raul Contesta, the president of the Pokemon Fan Club, Mr. Tsukizo, and the operator of the Slateport City Pokemon Center, Nurse Joy. So, the same judges as Janet's contest, aside from a different Nurse Joy. Vivian then officially shows the audience a picture on the screen of the Slateport contest ribbon that the winner of the contest would earn, and explains the fact that if a coordinator collected 5 ribbons, then they were allowed to go to the Pokemon Grand Festival, just as the announcer at Janet's contest had said. The picture of the ribbon on screen is then replaced with a picture of Vivian, so that the audience far back in the crowd could see her, and Vivian officially welcomes the audience to the contest and states that she was glad to be the announcer, excited. Meanwhile, May was currently in the waiting room with Ash, Brock, and Max, watching Vivian announce on a screen in the waiting room, awaiting for May to get called out for her first round, the appeals round. May hugged her Pokeblock case tightly as she was extremely nervous, even with her Beautifly above her, beginning to doubt her ability to win. So, Brock, Max, and Ash took responsibility and helped her feel more confident, with Max simply telling her to shove away her nervousness, and Brock reminding her that she shouldn't be that nervous because this wasn't technically her first performance, because she performed with Janet, though clarified that she should still not let her guard down, since this would be the first time that she would have to do everything alone. This was, in fact, what was making May nervous in the first place, the fact that this would be her first contest alone, and Ash said that Brock wasn't really helping by reminding May of this, so Ash instead helped her by reminding her what Mr. Big said, stating that if she was nervous, then the Pokemon would be as well, basically recalling Mr. Big's advice for a coordinator to always remain calm. Remembering Mr. Big's advice, May officially gained all the confidence that she needed, as Brock, Max, and Ash all stated their support for her, assuring her that she would do great. Unbeknownst to Ash and the gang, though, Drew was standing around the corner in the waiting room, smiling at May's nervousness, and listening to what they were saying, confident that he could wipe the floor with May. Soon enough, the Slateport contest began, with the first round, the appeals round, where Pokemon coordinators had to show off their Pokemon in a way that highlighted their appearances and skills. So, several coordinators went first, starting with the coordinator with the Shroomish, as he had to use a Stun Spore, the coordinator with their Azurill, who had it bounce on its tail, and also the coordinators with the Psyduck, Ponyta, Wingull, and Blossom, respectively. And May watched, from the waiting room, all these performances, as the judges gave them all high ratings, and Vivian complimented them all. Seeing all these performances was making her a bit nervous again, but it wasn't that bad, because Beautifly alone was able to comfort her, and May then was shocked when she watched on the screen to see the next coordinator come out, being none other than her rival Drew, who entered by doing a smug pose and a wink to the audience under a spotlight, as he then sent out his Roselia, with May eagerly watching from the waiting room. Before Roselia landed on the contest stage, Drew had it use Petal Dance, which sprayed the area almost like opening fireworks, which Vivian thought looked absolutely amazing, along with the rest of the judges. And the judges were even more impressed when Roselia gracefully landed on stage. Ash, Max, and Brock were shocked at how good Drew was, and even May was a little bit impressed by Roselia. Roselia then twirled around and used a combination of Stun Spore and Magical Leaf, which spread something that resembled glitter all throughout the stage as Roselia awesomely dances, impressing the judges even more. Drew simply smirked as he was far from done. He had an awesome finishing move planned, and Ash and the gang watched from the waiting room in shock as Roselia used Petal Dance and disappeared into the petals before using a magical leaf to reveal itself, slicing all the petals, creating an even more beautiful rain that resembled fireworks because of the large explosion of petals everywhere and the gracefulness of them falling down. The audience then cheered and clapped louder than any other performance in the day. And even Vivian commented on how fucking beautiful that was, and even May thought that it was beautiful as well, as she told herself this from the waiting room. Vivian then asked the judges to give their final ratings out of 10, since Drew's performance was now over, and Mr. Contesta gave a 9.8 out of 10, Mr. Suzuko gave a 9.9, and Nurse Joy gave a 9.7, so Drew's total score was a 29.4 out of 30 possible points, the highest score so far. May, Ash, Brock, and Max then watched the monitor from the waiting room as Vivian interviews the judges to hear what they had to say about Drew's performance, with Joy very much commending Drew's ability to combine attacks, Mr. Suzuko simply saying that it all looked beautiful, and Mr. Contesta compliments Drew's teamwork with his Roselia and use of the stage, as well as his great strategies, though admits that he obviously didn't view it as perfect, otherwise he would have gave it a straight 10. Upon hearing how picky the judges could be, due to Mr. Contesta seemingly not giving Drew a 10 for basically no reason, May got extremely nervous, both at the fact that she would have to beat Drew and his high score, and deal with judges that would never give out 10s, it seemed like. Meanwhile, Team Rocket was standing in front of the contest hall in salesman outfits. However, they soon realized that they couldn't sell trainers any Pokeblocks, because they didn't fucking have any, and they realized that they were going to have to acquire some Pokeblocks before they could sell them. So, Jesse and James decided to steal some from the contestants and then resell them to other contestants later. And they proceeded to do this by having Wobbuffet hold up a sign to advertise what they lied was a charity for Pokeblocks. And while Wobbuffet was holding the sign, Jesse and James were holding empty boxes, hoping that trainers would be kind enough to put some Pokeblocks in them. Since all the coordinators needed their Pokeblocks, no trainers were giving them any, so Team Rocket was about to change their plan and simply just steal some Pokeblocks so that they could resell them. However, before they could do this, an old man then came up to them, who was very tiny and could barely even walk, even with a cane, and he questioned what they were doing, leading Team Rocket to explain that they were trying to acquire Pokeblocks. Hearing this, the old man claimed that he had advice as to how Team Rocket could acquire Pokeblocks, and he also knew a lot about Pokeblocks in general, and he offered to teach Team Rocket, to which Team Rocket immediately agreed, excited to learn selling secrets and Pokeblock secrets. Meanwhile, now that Drew's first performance was done, he returned to the waiting room, where May, Brock, Ash, and Max were, and greeted May, noticing that she seemed to be a little nervous again, as he wished her good luck, and promised to cheer on for her to at least make it past the first round, because, for one, he wanted to make sure that May was confident for this round, because he at least wanted her to make it to him, so that he could be the one to wipe the floor with her, not anyone else. May tried to lie to Drew that she wasn't that nervous, although before she could get her point across, Drew directed his attention to the screen and told May to do the same, as she, Drew, Brock, Ash, and Max watched Vivian announce the next coordinator who was coming on stage, a man named Robert with his Milotic. The audience was amazed by both Robert's beauty as well as Milotic's beauty, becoming even more amazed with Milotic, along with the judges also becoming amazed as Milotic used Safeguard, causing it to radiate with a green glow as it shook its tail gracefully, while the audience and the judges were cheering. Ash became interested in Milotic, since he had never seen one before, so he, Brock, and Max creeped out of the waiting room into the audience stands and got a closer look at Milotic as it continued to wave its tail, almost as if it was greeting the audience, which made the audience cheer and applaud even louder, since they thought that Milotic looked friendly. Ash then used his Pokedex on Milotic to learn more about it, with Max commenting that what the Pokedex didn't say was that many people in Hoenn and around the world said that Milotic was the most beautiful Pokemon, and Brock agreed with this, pointing out the beautiful scales on the end of Milotic's tail. May and her Beautyfly, as well as Drew, were also watching the Milotic and Robert from the waiting room still, and Beautyfly was getting a little jealous of Milotic, because it was known as Beautyfly, a beautiful butterfly, so it should be the most beautiful Pokemon, not Milotic. Well, as for May and Drew, they were just amazed by Milotic. They weren't hung up about it. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, they were listening to the old man's information and tips about Pokeblocks, informing them that they needed to mix their own berries to give them unique flavor, so no one would know what the mixture was of Pokeblocks. Basically, he was saying that if Team Rocket wanted to make the best Pokeblocks, then they should make a secret recipe so that no one else could replicate it, and try and use the same effects that the Pokeblocks had on their Pokemon. Eventually, the old man just continues to go on a tangent about what specific Pokeblocks were best for certain Pokemon, as he said that spicier Pokeblocks were best for smarter Pokemon. James was taking notes, finding anything the old man said to be of potential importance to them, although Jesse and Meowth, on the other hand, were bored as fuck, because they realized they didn't really care about the intricacies of Pokeblocks. They just wanted to learn how to scam people and get them to give them their Pokeblocks. Like that's what they thought the old man was going to tell them about, not fucking the minute details of Pokeblocks. Meanwhile, Vivian then announced that it was time for the last person who signed up for the contest to perform, being May, and she called May up onto the stage as she walked out, still nervous. Drew noticed May's nervousness, watching from just outside the waiting room, and Ash, Brock, and Max did as well, and they were disappointed to see that May hadn't worked up enough courage yet. And unfortunately, May just got even more nervous as Vivian officially announced that this was May's first contest, because now she felt more pressure than ever to do good. To try and calm May down, Ash, Max, and Brock yelled at her from the stands, reminding her of Mr. Big's advice once again, and telling her to take a deep breath and just focus on the contest, not all of the audience and the judges, and just try to, look cool instead of nervous, because if she looked nervous, that definitely wasn't going to impress the judges. Hearing all this advice, May finally managed to pull herself together. But embarrassingly, when May goes to send out Beautyfly, she throws its Pokeball so hard that she trips and falls, causing a few people to laugh and the judges to look unamused. As well as Drew. Thankfully, Vivian at least had May's back, as she asked if she was alright and helped her up, with May assuring Vivian that she was fine. And she just laughs off her fall and says that was actually just part of her performance. She just wanted to make the audience fill the room with laughter before she sent out her Beautyfly. Before anyone could piece together that May was lying, she simply just sent out her Beautyfly for real this time. And it came out gracefully flapping its wings, impressing the audience as they cheered, finding Beautyfly beautiful. May then declares that she was going to start off her performance by showing off what her Beautyfly could do with Frisbees, as she throws a Frisbee, and Beautyfly, from far away, uses String Shot to send it right back at May. May then throws the Frisbee back at Beautyfly, and hits it with String Shot again. Essentially, they play catch for a while, getting faster and faster and faster, causing the stands to erupt with applause, and the judges to have impressed looks on their faces. Hell, even Drew was a little impressed with this. Though May knew that she couldn't keep doing the same thing over and over, as that would eventually get old, so she still decided to use a Frisbee, but instead, she ordered Beautyfly to send it back at her with a gust instead of a String Shot. Unfortunately, this kind of backfired on her though, as when Beautyfly launched the Frisbee back, the gust was so strong that May only managed to barely touch the Frisbee and fumble with it for quite a while, almost dropping it, but she thankfully managed to save it before it hit the ground, but she knew that it didn't look very good. Evidenced by the fact that Vivian was covering her face in partial embarrassment for May. May didn't get discouraged though, as she had at least done some cool shit with her String Shot with the Frisbee, so she figured she still had a chance to do well. So she decided to solidify her way to higher points, hopefully, by doing something special, having Beautyfly use Silver Wind while spinning around to make a Silver Wind tornado effect, making both May and Beautyfly not nervous at all, as they knew that this tornado was beautiful. Judging by the fact that the Silver Wind spread all throughout the stands, and the crowd erupted with cheers and applause, and May then ended her performance with bowing and having Beautyfly land on her head, impressing even Drew a tiny bit. And thankfully, the judges seemed to be pretty impressed as well, since the Silverwind had seemingly made up for her fumble earlier with the gust attack. Because when Vivian asked the judges to give their ratings out of 10, Nurse Joy gave it 8.1, Mr. Contesta gave it 8.3, and Mr. Tsukizo gave it 8.5, making May's total 24.9 points. Despite the relatively good score, May was still disappointed at the fact that she couldn't score at least 25, let alone win the round with the most amount of points. May then dejectedly went back to the waiting room, not even that excited for the second round, because she knew that she had people that had scored higher than her. Suddenly, much to her surprise, Drew comes by her and states that he thought that her performance was great and gives her a red rose. May thought that Drew had given her this rose to help cheer her up and blushed, thanking him, very grateful for this. But then, Drew clarified that the red rose was specifically for her Beautyfly, who had done well, though not for May, since May still had a lot to learn. May was insulted by this. However, Drew acted somewhat confusing to May, as he then kind of changed his tune a little bit, stating that although she still had a lot to learn, he did believe that May could eventually get there with training, and stated that he was happy to have May as his rival, stating that he wouldn't go easy on her, and May agreed with this, determined to beat Drew more than ever, because she wanted to make him pay for his confusing fucking attitude. Why was he nice to her 1 minute, rude to her another minute? Kind of like Ash and Gary. Meanwhile, back outside the contest hall, the old man was still fucking blabbering and blabbering about Pokeblock advice, as James continued to eagerly take down notes, as fast as he could, of everything the old man said, believing it to be important, while Jesse and Meowth were so bored by this point that they started to fall asleep. Meanwhile, May, Drew, Ash, Brock, and Max were in the waiting room and watched the screen as Vivian announced that the judges had made their mind up. They had decided who was officially going into the second round. May was shocked, as she thought that she already had a guaranteed spot into the second round because of her high score, but Drew clarified that the judges could make any last-minute changes if they found it necessary. This didn't really matter at all, though, because May was in fact in the top 8, as was Drew and Robert. Yeah, that's right, the second round now only had 8 contenders left. May, Drew, Robert, a trainer with a blue shirt, black hair, another trainer with a blue shirt and black hair, a trainer with a blue shirt and brown hair, a girl with a pink shirt and brown hair, and some dude with a yellow shirt and black hair. May was amazed to have made it to the second round, very relieved. Although Vivian then announces that the next stage of the contest was the battling rounds, where the judges tested a Pokemon's battling abilities along with how beautiful their attacks were, and Brock became concerned upon hearing this, since May didn't really have much experience battling, and she didn't really train for that during her training. Just then, the 8 competitors' profiles on the screen rearranged themselves to reveal who would be facing who in the battle rounds, and it was revealed that May was going to be battling Drew. Drew and May stared at each other in surprise for a moment, and then they agreed to make this battle as fair as possible, and that included no taunting, although they promised that they wouldn't go easy on each other either, and May stated that she wasn't planning on losing against Drew because she wanted to prove herself. Eventually, it was time for May and Drew's battle, so they both stepped on stage. As Vivian announced the rules, stating that unlike your typical gym battle, where the trainers would battle until all of their Pokemon fainted, Pokemon contest battles had a time limit, and the time limit this time was 5 minutes, and whoever had the most points at the end of the 5 minutes would be the winner. And also, if a Pokemon ended up fainting in the middle of the battle, the Pokemon that was left would automatically be declared the winner. That only made sense. The battle then begins with Drew sending out his Roselia and May sending out her Beautifly. And Drew starts off the battle with Roselia using Magical Leaf, although May has Beautifly counter it with a Gust, which was able to blow the Magical Leaf back for a bit, shredding up several leaves, although Beautifly runs out of energy from flapping its wings too hard, so it stops using Gust, allowing some of the remaining leaves to hit Beautifly. It tried to dodge, but it couldn't. And as a result, May ended up losing 20% of her points. Basically, if you were left with 0 points, then you lost. Drew then informs May, in as politely as a way that he could, so that it didn't count as a taunt, that Magical Leaf was a move that always hit, so no matter what May tried to do to redirect it, it would always come back. While Brock, Max, and Ash were watching, Brock was able to determine that the reason why May wasn't able to do anything against the Magical Leaf was because she wasn't aware of the fact that it would always hit, and blamed himself for not teaching May more about the fact that Magical Leaf could always hit. Because if he was able to warn her, then maybe May could have come up with a different strategy, as opposed to relentlessly using Gust. However, Ash blamed himself for not teaching May about this, and Brock and Ash eventually got into just a little bit of a tiff, being like, no, it's my fault, no, it's mine, when in reality, it was really May's fault. Because she knew that she could potentially be going up against Roselia's Magical Leaf, right? She could have prepared. Anyways, Roselia then used a Stun Spore, although Beautifly held its breath until the Stun Spore passed, so it was unaffected. May then decides to have Beautifly use a String Shot in a last-minute decision, although she clearly wasn't thinking that well, because Roselia simply just used Magical Leaf to cut the String Shot before it got trapped in it, which costed May some more points because of her blunder. And she lost even more points as the Magical Leaf then hit Beautifly as well, and in total this caused her to lose another fifth of her points, so now she was down to 60% of her points left. And Brock saw that the main reasoning for this was because May's timing and attacks were way off. May then tries a beautiful Silver Wind, but its beauty is countered as Roselia uses a Petal Dance to overwhelm the Silver Wind and head towards Beautifly, although Beautifly managed to fly up and avoid the petals, thankfully. Although it just barely managed to do this. Vivian then declared that there was now only 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. They were halfway through the battle, and it was then that Roselia began to prepare a Solar Beam attack, gathering energy. In an attempt to stop this Solar Beam, May ordered Beautifly to back up in hopes that it wouldn't get hit, and tried to stop it by having Beautifly launch a String Shot, but by the time the String Shot was launched, with precisely 2 minutes and 17 seconds left, Ash and the gang watched intently as the Solar Beam was fully charged and hit Beautifly right as the String Shot was about to hit Roselia, which destroyed the slingshot and knocked Beautifly down to the ground, almost making it faint, as it took a hard hit and looked severely damaged as it collapsed to the ground. May urged Beautifly to get back up as desperately as humanly possible, practically bagging Beautifly with all her might, but Beautifly passed out from pure exhaustion, meaning that the judges had officially declared that since Beautifly couldn't battle anymore, they had to end the battle early with just less than half the time still left, as they all flashed X's on their panels to indicate that May had lost and Drew was the winner, which Vivian officially announces, congratulating Drew, as the screen shows that he and his Roselia had advanced to the next round. Drew then goes off to the new stage that was specifically for the top 4 and above, while a disappointed May goes back to the waiting room and can barely hold back her tears, and she fully cries once Ash, Max, and Brock go after her and try and comfort her in the waiting room. Ash, Max, and Brock were disappointed on May's behalf as well, but they wanted to encourage her so that she could be happy again and not fucking cry her eyes out just because she lost. May could not get comforted though, because she was so intent on winning the contest and she practiced so hard with Beautifly, and it was all for nothing. Brock tells May that her and Beautifly did their best, and that was all that mattered, but May retorted that it was merely her fault for the loss, not Beautifly's, because Beautifly was doing everything perfectly. It was just what she ordered that wasn't going well. May then proceeds to whine about how she thought it would be fun to participate in the contest, not miserable, thinking that she wouldn't find it nearly as hard on her to lose, but she was taking it really tough. Ash admitted that losing was tough at first, but a true trainer should realize that a loss simply meant that you had more room for growth. May didn't care about this though, and it seemed like she would never be cheered up. Suddenly, Ash and the gang all turned their attention to the screen on the wall as they saw Drew had just sent out his Roselia, getting ready for his next round battle against none other than Robert and his Milotic. May was interested in this, so she teared up a bit as she got to watch this battle as it began, starting with Milotic using Iron Tail, hitting Roselia hard, causing Drew to lose several points, and he just kept losing points as he kept getting bashed with Iron Tail, as Vivian kept declaring each amount of points that was lost after each hit. While Ash was watching, he obviously thought Robert would win, but suddenly, Roselia used a magical leaf on Milotic, which would be a super effective hit, but Robert simply destroyed the leaves before they made contact with Milotic's Twister. Drew tries to come up with something to battle Milotic with, but he noticed there was only 2 seconds left on the clock, and then, just like that, time run out, and we could see that Robert had only lost 1/5 of all of his points, and Drew had lost like 80% of his points, so with that, Drew officially lost, and Robert was declared the winner. Officially by Vivian. Drew was obviously ticked off by this, and Ash and the gang were surprised, seeing that there was actually someone better than Drew. May then decided that she was going to talk to Drew, not just about her loss to him, but his loss to Robert, to see if they could reach any common ground while they talked about both of their losses. Meanwhile, the old man was still going on about his Pokeblocks to Team Rocket, and just seeing me out had fallen asleep hours ago by this point, along with Wobbuffet, while James was still working hard taking notes. As the old man stated that if you wanted your Pokemon to achieve a better appearance, the Pokemon should eat Pokeblocks that had berries of better qualities, not even specifying what these qualities were at this point, but James still took notes. Meanwhile, May didn't get a chance to talk to Drew yet, since he just stayed in the stands watching the next battles. He watched the last top 4 battle, and then the final battle between Robert and the winner of the other match, and Robert won easily, and was awarded the Slateport ribbon by Mr. Contesta, as the audience cheered for Robert, along with May, Ash, Brock, and Max, with May having gotten over her sadness after seeing Robert's awesome performance in the finals that she had watched in person, because she went to the stands as well, upon realizing that Drew was there. After the award ceremony, May saw that Drew was already leaving the contest hall, so she and the rest of the gang hurried after him, and May congratulates Drew on doing a good job, though assured Drew that she wouldn't lose next time, but Drew promised that he would be more powerful as well, laughing, saying that he would make sure that May wouldn't win, though wished her good luck in future contests, because he wanted to at least have May put up a fight when he fought her. And May wished him luck in his future contest as well, but he simply replied that he didn't need it, and advised May to maybe enter some easier-looking Pokemon contests with a few less competitors, so that she could build up a resume at first, before challenging him again, so that he could look better when he beat her. Ash, Brock, and Max then jumped in, and stated that May would not lose, because they would train her for her next contest, and May then promised Drew that she would become a great coordinator, even without having to build up a resume in easier contests, because she would train and battle as much as possible. That was her new resolve, as she jumped up into the air, officially declaring this, punching her hand up in the air. Later, it was now nighttime, and the lights just outside of the contest hall had turned on, but the old man was still giving advice about Pokeblocks, stating that some Pokeblocks improved a Pokemon's health. However, no one heard him this time, as unbeknownst to the old man, who was too focused on giving his advice, even James had fallen asleep as well. He tried his best to stay awake, struggling through, but he couldn't. He just fucking couldn't. He collapsed, both from tiredness and boredom, and also from exhaustion from writing so much throughout the day. Despite this, the old man still didn't notice, because he was just so enveloped in explaining about Pokeblocks, and he continued talking all night, and hell, maybe even forever. Maybe he just continued talking even when Team Rocket would inevitably leave. I guess we'll never know.